Okay, so what we're going to do this time is another very simple form, much like the last time. But this time, what we're going to have is a PHP form instead of an HTML form. And there's not a difference, it's just that PHP is embedded into the HTML with a .php extension. So here, instead of a order form to.php, HTML, then it's a PHP file. Okay, so if I look over here to orderform.php, then at the top, what I show here is the two PHP tags, and I have compressed just the header that you would normally put up there. And so this just shows how you can embed PHP inside of HTML, and actually vice versa. So here we have just a standard head, and then the start of the body, a simple form, a simple header, and then I open up PHP. So also something else I want to show you that PHP Storm does for you that's pretty nice. So if I go up under code, I can look at format code, and if my code is not correctly formatted, then it will alter it and format it for me automatically. So that's a pretty nice feature. Okay, so let's look at our PHP here. So what I have is, in this case, I put in double quotes this string, which is actually HTML, right? I'm bolding the word foobar in HTML. And normally I would not want you to do that, but I'm just showing you this to show you how you could display plain HTML on the in the browser window. Okay, so to do that, so I put this HTML into this variable, and notice the variable in PHP all starts with a $sign. Okay, so I define my own variable called str for string. So that's $str, and I can echo str here. All right, so let's go back over to my form, which is here. So I can echo foobar here, and you see it's bold. But then underneath it, I echo HTML special chars. So that's here, and that's just plain text. But I concatenate with a period in PHP. So unlike, say, Java, where you have to use a plus sign for concatenation, here we use a period. And then I concatenate the output of this function. So here's a function, HTML special chars, special characters, that is part of the PHP, part of the library. And I send it this string. And what it returns back is the HTML equivalent of what's in here. So in other words, it displays on the screen my HTML. Okay, so instead of displaying foobar bolded without the HTML, it displays the entire HTML. Okay, if I want to look at what it did, then in Safari, I've got a developer, and then under developer link, then I can look for my, let's see, show page source, and that should show it down here. And you'll see what it does is it actually uses the codes ampersand LT, semicolon, and then GT, so there's an ampersand GT for greater than, okay, and here again, ampersand LT, and so forth. So it displays these codes so that the browser will not display them as actual tags, but rather just plain text. Okay, so let's go back over here. Then I use the date function in PHP, and remember these are all in a PHP area of this form or this document. So I have a date function, and this bunch of mess, if you want to call it that right there, we'll talk about this in class, but in a PHP date function, there are codes that I can send it to ask it to display the date in a certain format, and that's what these are. Okay. In fact, if I go over here and get a new browser tab, and I just search for PHP date format codes, format a local date and time, php.net, the manual. So if I go under here, here is all of those. Here are all of those codes, and there's just a whole bunch of them. Okay, so that's what I did. Is I went through here and I found out, okay, how do I want to display my date? So I can go down here and pick a code, whether I want a 12-hour format or 24-hour format, seconds with leading zeros, minutes with leading zeros. And so there's just lots and lots of options through here that help me decide how I want to display this. I'll let you look up these codes. Embedded with the codes, I can put other characters like a colon or the forward slashes. Okay, that will not affect the output of my different codes. So I have a small g, small I, small a, small n, small j, and small y. So if I go over here, for example, and I'll look up the small g, well, that's this right here. It's a 12-hour format, and so forth, okay? So I won't spend any more time there. The current date time, and then I show that variable that I put the output of that date function into. Once again, notice the $sign because it's a variable in PHP. I put that into my time here. Then I have my standard O form, but notice something different. Right here, I have a hidden field that will not show to the browser, and in the hidden field, I put the contents of that variable. That way, when I click the submit button, that variable, the key value pair, also goes over to the response page. Okay, so that's a big difference in what we did before. If we look at the response page here, then we'll see that in my PHP section, I have my first name, last name, and so forth. But then on out here, I get the date back out of my get array from the form and display it. So it's not the date in the response page I'm showing, it's the date from where I passed it in from the order form to .php page. All right. I think that's about all I wanted to talk about this time. So more to come.